Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making the Lady Dior bag, but this one is the improved version with flap instead of the zipper closure. Alright guys, let's get right into it. So first we're going to create the main panel and the side panel. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow the instruction and then measure 2 inch from the side and from one short edge and from one long edge. Then we are going to start drawing these horizontal lines. They are actually 1.5 inch apart. So we're going to repeat this until the whole panel is filled up. Now you can skip this whole process if you do not want to quit your main panels and your side panel. So I'm going to repeat the same thing, but starting from the opposite long edge, right? I'm going to start from the opposite of the long edge. So first the 2 inch from one long edge and from the short edge, then I will draw an horizontal line to join them together. Then I'm going to start 1.5 inch from the last line until the whole thing is filled up. So it is completed now, and I'm going to place this on my foam, and then I will sew on the line. I'm going to sew on everything. So the quilting is all done, and then this instruction, the next few instructions now are optional, because I still want it to be quilted even after this, but you do not have to necessarily do this. So what we do is place our ruler on 1/4 inch below the intercepting viewpoint of the quilt, and then draw a straight line. Then I'm going to repeat this to complete it until I get to the other short edge. But when you're doing this, please note that you will draw the line after the intercepting point that falls in line. You need to skip the points that are offset, or else your panel will be over quilted. It is much clearer in the pattern, and the pattern is actually linked below. So I'm going to repeat the same thing to complete the line, but this time I'm going from the bottom to top. You know, I started from the other short edge to this short edge. I'm going to start from the second short edge to the short edge that I started from, and still do the same thing. Now at this point you'll be having two lines. The one you started with 1/4 will cover it. There it will be 0.5 inch in between each straight lines. It might not really show in this video, but like I said, it is very, very clear in the pattern. So I'm just trying to show you, but it's not really clear. It's not very clear. So I'm going to repeat the same thing I did from one short edge to the other short edge. I'll repeat it from one long edge to the second long edge. So I'm just trying to pick the V points that I want to draw my 1-4 line on. So as you can see, I just skipped a point offset, then followed the ones that are in line with the V points I already started with. So I'm going to start from the other long edge to the long edge I started with. So I'm going to take this to the sewing machine as well. I think it's clearer now. Yeah, that is it. I'll take it to the sewing machine and also, so it's all quilted now. And then I'm going to place my side panel and my main panel on it, and then draw 2 out. Now when you're doing this, you want to make sure that your quilts are not like just placed anyhow. You want to make sure that they are placed very well to follow, at least to follow the quilting, so that it will be neat and nice, which is what I'm trying to do here. So I'm going in with the main panel first, and second I will draw out the side panels. So this is the first side panel. Then the second side panel. Now I'm going to sew 1/16 inch inside the traced line to secure the quilting, and then I will cut out the first 4 pieces on the line. So there it is. We have all our side and main panels. Now I'm drawing a 1 inch line down from the straight long edge, from the top edge of the main and side panel, and I'm trying to apply just a little glue to glue the this is to glue the interfacings. So I'm going to set the interfacing on that line and then centered. Notice I'm not putting the glue on everything because I still want some part of the quilt to pop. So it's all done now. We've interfaced both our main and side panels. So this base panel now, I'm going to set the base interfacing 1 centered on the wrong side of the base panel. Now we have 2 base interfacings. We have one that is not very thick and the other one very thick. We want to go in with the one that is lighter first. I'm going to draw a line 1.5 inch from the short edges and then 1.25 inch from the long edges of the base panel. I'm going to punch a hole through the points where the line meets and then install my purse fit. You can also use dot tape or small piece of woven interfacing to cover the prongs. So now I'm going to match one long edge of the base panel with the bottom edge of the main panel. Of course, right sides together. I'm going to sew those with 3/8 and then top stitch with 1/8 on the base panel. And of course, I'm going to repeat the same thing to sew the other main panel and the other long edge of the base panel. So I will open the panels now. Don't forget the seam should be towards the base and then you top stitch on the base, 1/8 inch seam allowance. So that's all done, and then we move to sew the side. I'm going to match the side right sides together with the main panel. And then there's a tip here. You can start matching the center, then the top edges, and then the sides in between, just so that everything match up and nicely. So I'm going to sew this. I'm going to sew this with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Now you can definitely sew this with your flatbed, but we just want things to be, you know, just fast. I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. And then it's all done now. I'm going to turn it to the right side and then fuse the base interfacing too. Remember, we have two base interfacings. I'm going to fuse the thick one now. Now fold that edge to meet the line you drew from before. You can use glue or double-sided tape here. This is the time to do your zipper and slip pocket. Video for that is linked in the description below. So this is our finished zipper and slip pocket. Now we're moving to the flap panel, and first we're going to install the male magnetic snap on the right side of one of the flap panels using the mark on pattern piece G. Now this panel that is going to have the male magnetic snap is going to become the outer flap panel or the exterior flap panel, because our flap is going to be inner flap. Now we're going to mash the two flap panels right sides together, and then we clip them in place. We take this to our sewing machine and sew with a 3/8 inch seam allowance all around the curved edges, but we're going to leave the straight edge alone. And then you can trim it down or even notch it to reduce the bulk, and then turn it to the right side. Now you're going to want to use something pointed to push out those corners and make sure everything is laying nice and flat. So you can also still clip the edges, and then we're going to top stitch the same edges with 1/8 inch seam allowance. We're still going to leave the raw edge opened, because now we're going to insert our flap into the flap our flap interfacing into the flap panel. After this, we'll take it to the sewing machine and then top stitch. Now in the pattern, we top stitch even before putting our flap interfacing. The order really doesn't matter. Now we're going to roll the flap panel into a C shape, and then we'll start sewing our lining now. First, we'll draw a line 3/8 inch, 3/4 inch on the shorter long edge, and then we're going to get the center of the flap panel. Then we'll match it with the center of the lining panel that has the zipper. We're going to clip it in place and sew with 1/8 inch seam allowance. So now we'll match the longer long edge. I know that sounds like tautology, but there is really a longer long edge, which is the bottom edge of the top trim panel. We'll match it right sides together with the top edge of the lining, and then we'll sew with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. We're going to push the seam towards the lining and top stitch on the lining with 1/8 inch seam allowance. Now to the second one, I've already installed the second top trim on the lining panel that has the slip pocket. That is where I'm going to install my female part of the magnetic snap now. So now the lining is all done. I'm going to take them right sides together and clip both the sides and the bottom edges. So I'm going to sew this with 3/8 inch seam allowance. And then I'll still sew the bottom edge as well with 3/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, now match the side and the bottom corresponding seams, and then clip them in place and also sew with 3/8 inch seam allowance. Repeat this for the other side. Now we're going to fold that top edge to meet the line, so that it gives us a folded edge and not a raw edge. And now we'll start assembling the whole bag. So we're going to place this inside the exterior so that they are wrong size together. Sorry, they should be wrong size together, as the exterior is right side out and the lining is wrong side out. So just make sure everything lay nice and centered. And then now we're going to take this to the sewing machine and then sew with the top stitching of 1/8 inch seam allowance. Now top stitching might be a little tricky, but just follow the pattern and do it right. So now the handle panel, we're going to use the pattern to mark out the center like so, and then we fold to that line using your double-sided tape or your glue, whichever you have available. Fold to that line. Now at the center we need to give it a little notch, maybe like 1/8 deep, 1/2 inch apart. Then we just fold to meet the line like so. Then we'll repeat this for the other 4 handle panels. Now we have all 4, and then I'm going to glue the handle interfacing to the handle foam. Then I will cut it out like so. Now I'm going to glue 2 handle interfacing together. Now I'm going to go by the thicker interfacing side, not the foam. I can glue 2 foam together like so. Then we put one in between 2 handle panels, as I am doing right now. Then we're using clip to hold it. It should also be centered. Should be centered because it will still have some little space from the short edge of the handle panel. So I'm going to hold it on both the outer edge and the inner edge. So now we're going to sew this with 1/8 inch seam allowance and start installing our eyelets. Now this is it, and I'm going to repeat the same thing for the bag, and the measurement is 1/2 inch from the top and then 2 inch from the side. I'm going to do it for the 4 edges like so, and then right now I'm going to use an open ring to connect my handle to the bag. So here we go. This is our Lady Dior bag, O2 Lady Dior bag, because this one has flap, unlike the first one that has zipper. All right, guys, thank you for watching. And I did a small size. The small size is actually for Alexia and the big one is for me. Thank you for watching and bye.